Well, how are you guys doing today? Coming at you with a quick video. Guess you could call it some late breaking sort of news, I guess. It's one of D&D's quote unquote historians, Ben Riggs, saying some silly things on Twitter. So, without further ado, why don't we just get into it? Who's Ben Riggs? Well, he considers himself the D&D historian extraordinaire, friend of humanity, animal, and werewolf alike. Oh boy. He wants you to buy his Griddle Hot D&D history here. Slaying the Dragon, it's about the waning days of TSR. So I don't like Ben, obviously. That picture right there, he looks like a smug SOB. He doesn't even have that big of an account as these things go on X. He only has 3,000 followers, so somebody who wrote the definitive history of D&D, you would expect to get a little bit more traction. But he's a little bit insufferable, and maybe you can tell why he has so few followers if you take a look at some of the things he's been saying lately. This, for instance, trying to get the attention of Grums, Mark Kern, World of Warcraft fame. He asks Mark here, are you aware of the Harlot Table from the first edition DM's Guide? Apparently Gary just wanted to let everyone know precisely what kind of prostitutes one might encounter in D&D. No wonder D&D had trouble attracting female players for so long. All right, so this is troubling coming from someone who's supposed to be a historian, conflating this table here, which is a classic, as we all know. As you can see there, good, get out your percentage dice, see what you roll. Going to get the saucy tart this time, maybe the haughty courtesan. But no, this has nothing to do with why female players didn't flock to D&D, at least in the early days. And they still don't really. I mean, there's more female players for sure nowadays. But, back then, look, this is just something that guys did. The women, they read Jane Austen. We read Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, J.R. Tolkien. Just guys like this don't understand the differences between men and women. I wonder if he'd even be able to tell us if there is a difference between men and women. So they just naturally think that women are the exact same as men, which is probably why he thinks that men can compete in women's sports, I would wager. This is a very, very silly take here. And this, of course, it actually did provide some pretty good information. I mean, look, this is the world's oldest profession. You would expect to encounter something like this if you're playing in something based on Western civilization, which a lot of early D&D, was based on. So there's nothing wrong with this classic table. Thank you, Gary, for making it. Where he starts to really kind of ruffle feathers, and I really didn't appreciate this, is basically him calling Gary Gygax a racist. Ever notice how Lolth, the chaotic evil queen of the spiders, goddess to the all-evil black elves, looks African-American on the cover of 1986's Queen of the Spiders? Again, D&D links dark skin, African features to evil. Oh boy. So the changes in 2024 D&D were very much needed. This is just so silly. Hey, that's actually a pretty cool picture. I like that piece. It's a lot better than some of the stuff that you see, especially coming out of the new monster manual. Oh boy, that looks like a hot mess. The women look like women. They look interesting and dangerous. If Ben would whine, if Gary did make the drow white, he would probably be the kind that would whine about no representation. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't with these people. He goes on, of course, to call out the drow entry from the monster manual. They were purportedly dwell beneath the surface in a strange subterranean realm. The drow are said to be as dark as fairies are bright, and as evil as the latter are good. And then he states, a dark-skinned race of evil blacks. He calls them, quote-unquote, evil blacks, which I think tips his hand a little bit more than Gary's, wouldn't you say? Clearly, the changes to the drow in 2024 D&D were needed. And someone is going to say that the drow are simply the Svartalfar, or black elves from Norse mythology, which was indeed a source, but they weren't evil in Norse mythology. As I understand it, they were kind of like tricksters. They weren't good. Maybe they weren't, classic villains, but, you can kind of see where Gary was just kind of taking a bit of mythology here. Oh, it's, a dark-skinned race. We already have good elves on the surface, and, in classic literature, bad things come from the underworld. Well, these are elves in the underworld, so I'm just going to make them evil because, hey, the players need somebody to fight. There was nothing behind it. There's no racism. And people like Ben make their bones crying about this kind of stuff. But it really does do damage. He considers himself a historian. What is he going to put in his next history book, I wonder? So do not buy Ben's book. You can learn everything you need to know about what happened at the waning days of TSR online. In fact, I remember there's a really, really long article somewhere out there about what happened. Ben seems like the kind of guy who complains about racism 24/7 and then likes to live in the whitest community he can find. I would imagine that is the case with him. Still a lot to do. This is why I really hate it. And you see it in my comments all the time. Why do you care, bro? Just don't play D&D. And these are little Vidkin quislings. These are little Grima worm tongues. There usually are plants, from the other side, just trying to get people like me and others off the case. But I'm not going to be stopped calling these people out. In fact, I really wish more people would. I wish Luke Gygax would raise his voice. We know Ernie Gygax. We know what he thinks of these people, but he doesn't have a huge online presence. Laugh at these people, make them afraid to make these kind of silly takes, these kind of slanderous, libelous takes that they have. They are maligning a really, really good guy in Gary Gygax. Good family man, someone who tried to take care of his family, his kids, the best way he could, and brought joy to so many people. And here we have a smug, probably millennial D-bag who's riding the coattails of better people, trying to make a buck off of it. It's disgusting. Nobody had a problem with Drow up until these people smelled a little bit of clout and a little bit of money, which of course caused us to rise up and say, no, you won't. We're not going to let you do that. So that's going to be all today. Don't be afraid to tell Ben what you think. Do it respectfully, but tell him that he's full of it. You are entitled to do so. You guys take care. Have a great, great rest of your day, and we will talk soon. Peace.